All right, something a little bit different. Series we're going to start. Oh, there we go. So this is my 2010 Raptor. And if you don't know, when the Raptors first came out, they had a 6.2, right? Everybody knows that. But they also had a 5.4 Triton. You know, worst motor Ford's ever made. And this guy has about 300,000 miles on it. I bought this truck for $6 grand. Looks like it was rebuilt about 150,000 miles ago. But long story short, I love this truck. It's a good truck. I bought a 2020, had issues, got rid of it. New Fords suck. The 10R80 is junk. The call home stuff sucks. So, what's better than a 5.4 or putting a 6.2 in a Raptor? Let me show you. I think this is better than putting a 5.4 Triton or a 6.2 in it. This is a Gen 1 Coyote F150 motor with a 4-wheel drive 6R80. So we'll talk about all this here in a moment, but in the meantime, this has a hurt bottom end. I've already pulled these off. I looked down the cylinders. Up top looks good, brand new timing set. It's got a hurt cylinder. We're not going to play with it. We're going to put a new block, Gen 2 crank, Gen 2 rods, Gen 2 pistons. But let me get this tore down a little bit and we'll talk here in a moment. And with a little bit of elbow grease, cylinder walls look good. So heads were fucked, not the block, which works out. So let's go through a couple things together. Today starts the beginning of the Coyote swap on the Poverty R. This is a 2010 Ford Raptor, and it has a 5.4 Triton in it, and it makes like 200 horsepower and like 200 feet-pound of torque. And even though it runs great, and I have never had a problem with it since I've bought it about a year and a half ago, it has no power, it's very underwhelming, and it's essentially a wannabe Raptor. It looks like a Raptor, sounds halfway decent, but makes 0 horsepower and can't go anywhere. So in the pursuit of financial irresponsibility, we are going to Coyote swap it. And not just Coyote swap it, we're also going to boost it. And in that process, I have a few friends who have been reaching out to me willing to help. The garage-built Coyote, Mr. Ryan, has sent us some stuff, and it's going to get us up and rolling, such as this oil pickup out of his Gen 2 Coyote, this oil pan out of the same truck, the one that was on the motor that we got. Someone decided to use all the RTB in the world, and it bent the pan while removing. Also, this is a Gen 2 pan, so it does not have the oil level sensor in the pan, but we will not need it with what we are doing. This oil pump gear housing with oil pump gears that I know looks a little toasty, but I'm going to show you guys later on how to clean up used parts to make them look new and to prevent getting debris in your new motor. I'm also curious if GT500 oil pump gears fit in this out of a 5.4, 5.8, because I have a set of brand new ones from my build on that car, but we'll play with that a little bit later. This Gen 2 crankshaft also out of a F150. So Ryan has been extremely nice in sending me some parts that are not necessarily hard to find, but save a little bit of money for the build. And with the stuff that I've acquired, we're pretty much done. We're waiting on a piston from Ford out of a Gen 2 F150. So that's another thing, is just getting a Gen 1 motor, Gen 1 short block, Gen 1 heads, Gen 1 Mustang cams, because I couldn't find F150 cams, as well as Gen 2 crank, Gen 2 rods, Gen 2 pistons, all out of the F150. Pretty much the same, a little bit lower compression versus the Mustang, but for our goals, it shouldn't be much of a problem. So let me show you what I was able to source. So these came off the motor that I got. I got an entire motor, 6R80, and transmission for about 500 bucks. Motor was hurt. These are the old Gen 1 heads. They had pretty bad scoring in the cam journals, as well as a lot of debris. And as you can tell based on looking at them, they've seen better. So instead of using the heads that came on my motor, I picked up these. These are Gen 1 Mustang heads. Not sure what the difference in the head is. Maybe a little bit different flow. But these have been freshly machined, cleaned up. They've been sitting for minutes and they cleaned up again. But I secured these for about 500 bucks without cams. Gen 2 rods and pistons. It was one that decided to meet a valve a little too early in its life. Also from the same gentleman who gave me those cylinder heads, about 200 bucks, and we have to replace a piston. And these Gen 1 Mustang cams for about $500. They were supposed to come with phasers, but they did not. But they are in pretty good shape and no scarring or anything. Need cleaned up, but I think this will do just fine. Unfortunately, they're not F150 cams, so we're moving the power level up in the RPM a little bit, but with what we're doing, I think it'll be okay. Alrighty, and that pretty much sums up the Raptor outline. We are going to be putting a Gen 1 block, Gen 1 heads, Gen 1 cams, Gen 1 timing set, mixed between Mustang and F150 stuff, and Gen 2 bottom end out of an F150, so a little bit lower compression, but with the goal of 650, 700, it'll do that all day on 8 to 10 PSI on E85. It's a 6,000 pound truck. It's not going to blow the doors off anything, but it'll be a fun daily. It'll be more fun than 200 horsepower that it has. My wife's Expedition is actually pretty fun. I think the thing makes like 400-ish horsepower. And the GT500 is obviously ridiculous. I mean, 1,000 horsepower street car. It's a good time, but that's not what we're after. We're after the build you can do in your driveway with Harbor Freight tools, which the GT500 was done with that, but that wasn't budget friendly. This is. If you're willing to wheel and deal on a marketplace, you can come up with a lot of cool stuff. And they came out with this really cool feature of putting the ability to add your boys into the chat. And Ryan and I had a good laugh there for a night or so, just kind of messing with some people who wouldn't come off of ridiculous prices, but it was a good time. So if you're wanting to watch somebody kind of just that has the tism that we all have, the tism of wanting to tinker and do it on a budget without breaking the bank, this is going to be an extremely financially irresponsible decision, but it is what it is, and we're going to do it right here in the driveway. So everything has to come out either the front or the bottom. I don't have a lift. It won't fit in the garage. I was able to do it with the 500 with Harbor Freight tools. I'm sure we can do this with Harbor Freight tools and a little bit of elbow grease, and it'll buff. But if you want to support the whole build, Ryan decided to do a cool thing and came out with some stickers. And with the stickers, the funds were originally going to go to this, but him and I have been talking. I think it'd be a good idea if we take the stickers and with the money of the stickers go make shirts. Rich Prince makes shirts for another YouTuber that I follow, and I've bought plenty of his merch, and it's a very, very nice quality. It's actually good prints. I wear them all the time, so I gotta wash them, otherwise I'd show you. But they're good prints, and they're good shirts, and they're not going to shrink on you. But we've sold quite a few, but we're going to take the money from the stickers, take the same design, and put it on shirts. And if that interests you guys, it makes it to where we have to sell a little bit less in order to really help out with the truck. And I don't expect you guys to. This is all going to come out of my pocket. But Ryan took it upon himself to do that. And I figured, why not? It's a Raptor R. Raptor stuff's cool. Coyote stuff's cool. Kind of put it together. And if you want some, the links are in the description. And other than that, I'll see you guys when we're putting a motor back together here in like a week or so.